Operations processes, technology and task design. This presentation is based on the respective pages from Chapter 3 of Chapman's Business Studies in Action, the HSC text. Alright, so technology. So we're thinking here, how do these things influence the operations process of a business? In other words, how can a business use technology to influence its operations and with improvement in mind? So business technology involves the use of machinery and systems that enable business to undertake transformation process more effectively and efficiently. Those two words in bold, effective and efficient, are words which you will hear over and over throughout the next 12 months in this course. Technology can be expensive, so businesses need to decide whether to purchase or lease the assets they use. Many businesses increasingly lease some aspects of technological assets as purchasing them outright will create problems with cash flow and working capital. We'll worry about that when we do the finance topic next year. Introducing technology, whilst it ought to be a positive, it does involve costs. It involves costs in training employees to be able to effectively use the technology, and sometimes there will be the cost involved in employees becoming redundant with their labour no longer needed. Office technology. I was considering making this video out in my backyard or going down the beach maybe next time. But the idea is that technology has enabled workers to be more efficient, as well as allowing some tasks to be completed away from the office. So the idea is I'm preparing this video, which is meant to be homework for you, and I'm doing this from the comfort of my home whenever I choose to do so, as opposed to doing it at work within normal working hours. Obviously, there is a downside of being able to work from home as well, as hopefully you can appreciate. Manufacturing technology. So the text spends a little bit of time addressing these three things. I don't want to say too much about it, partly because I don't know an awful lot about it, but the idea is that businesses can choose, and some will realistically need to, depending on the industry sector they work in. Some businesses will implement robotics, and whilst normally the robotics look nothing like the robots in the Westworld TV series, increasingly, no doubt, some robots will become increasingly human in appearance at least, but for the majority of businesses, robotics will look more like those seen on the floor of a automobile factory, or even in this photo on the right hand side. As well as that, CAD, CAM, CA in both cases stands for computer aided. So the idea here is that businesses can use computers to assist them in design or in actual manufacturing. And some businesses will use one, some will use the other, many will use both. Task design. So task design is all about classifying job activities in ways that make it easy for an employee to successfully perform and complete the task. Anytime I actually prepare a lesson properly, I'm taking task design principles into account, since there are many ways that we can learn about any given thing. The particular lesson will be me trying to implement aspects of task design. So that will happen in any business. Careful task design in business will help inform recruitment of new employees. So if you design a task properly, it will give you a clear idea as to which type of employees, what people will be best suited for that job. So you could look at it something like this. A business perhaps the operations managers and the human resource managers working together will design a task. A job description will be written up, and then specific employee attributes will be targeted. And then, as we'll find out much later in the course when we do human resources, the business will attempt to recruit potential employees, and then of those who are recruited, not given jobs but recruited, the business will select one or however many are required to hopefully fulfill that task as well as anybody could. Skills audit. So this is a process used to determine the present level of skills possessed by existing employees and to identify areas of skill shortfalls. Within my faculty at school, I'm aware of the different subject areas which different teachers are trained in, and those subject areas where nobody is strictly speaking trained in, such as business studies. And so when a position opens up, we need to, looking at the diagram there, determine the skill requirements of that position, audit the actual skills. So it may be possible that someone is trained in an area which is similar to a different area, and they may be able to develop and acquire the necessary skills and knowledge to fill the gaps. That's where training needs comes into it. On the other hand, you may realize that that's just not viable, and therefore you need to recruit from outside of a business. Workplace layout. Look around you. What is the place that you're watching this video? How is it set out? I'm working from my lounge room where I have a desk. The idea is I sit down here, I do work. At the moment, I've got the door closed to block out little children and their noise. Are you similarly working in a place which is designed specifically for your work, or are you working in a place which is used for all sorts of purposes? And then think about school. Think about the way that different classrooms are set out and why they are set out differently. So this relates to the physical layout. So tangible aspects of a workplace, including how employees and machinery are arranged. There are different options, as we'll see, depending on what type of production is occurring and the required volume of production. All right, some of these are very easy to get confused, so I encourage you to try very hard to get a clear understanding of the difference between process layout and product layout, and try to hold on to an example of each. This is the sort of thing which could very easily come up in your assessment task. So process layout involves an arrangement of machines, equipment, and employees so they are grouped together by the functional process that they perform. I have an image here of an intensive care unit within a hospital. I'm not sure if you can see, but those are babies. The idea is that this is highly specialized, potential for all sorts of different situations needing to be dealt with, a high variety of tasks, and a low volume. This is not a production line. And it's no doubt very expensive. On the other hand, product layout. Product layout involves an arrangement of machines and equipment so they relate to the sequence of tasks performed in manufacturing a product, suitable for low variety, high volume production. Now I tried to Google production line to try to get a good picture. I failed. I found this one though, which I think shows a production line. Now if you recall the envelope making prac, most groups, or at least the ones which I think did the best job, organized themselves into a product layout. You were not trying to achieve variety for the most part. You were just trying to achieve quality and, most importantly, high volume or high quantity. Fixed position layout. This involves the arrangement of machines and equipment that stay in place, fixed position, to complete large-scale activities such as bridge construction. If you're traveling around and you see a crane in a particular location, perhaps it's being used to create units in that part of Sydney or some major public works program, the idea is that that crane will probably be fixed in that location for a significant amount of time. It takes time and energy to move these things, and lots of money. So these heavy machinery are no doubt located in places where they do not need to be moved any more than is absolutely necessary. If you went to something like a naval dockyard where ships were built, the cranes would probably remain fixed always. Office layout. This is the last one, I think. Designed to enable work to be performed with minimal time wastage and disruption. You don't want people having to move out of the way all the time. Ideally, you don't want to be distracted if it is possible to avoid that. Workstations, that is a word which it's worth trying to remember. The image below is just from a Google search of a school staff room somewhere in China. But if you look in F3, F4, F5, any of the staff rooms at school, you'll see examples of office layout. If you think they're set out well, congratulate Miss Moscow and Mrs. Wifnall. If you think they're terrible, tell them to do a better job next time. Okay, so to finish, 4-question quiz, which you can either try to write down or just do in your head if you wish. If I remember, I'll ask these same questions or something very similar in class on Wednesday. So, what were 2 benefits of introducing new technology? Why is it in the interests of business to introduce new technology? What are 2 costs involved in introducing new technology? If we assume that technology is good, what are the costs involved? Or in other words, why do not all businesses introduce technology that is available? 3, which one of those types of layout is appropriate for mass production? That is, production which involves low variety, high volume. And finally, for what type of production is a process layout appropriate? Here's a hint, it's not the same as the one which is appropriate for mass production. Alright, well, I hope that was useful. Sorry it's a bit longer than the previous ones. Hopefully it's worthwhile. We'll talk about it in class on Wednesday. Take care.